بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. To my ever-growing live audience that shouldn't be here during this COVID-19 social distancing policies, but alhamdulillah, you guys are taking care of yourself and hopefully, maintaining all the precautions. And to my audience who's sitting at home, so today will be our last segment of the upbringing of the pious before the Dhul Hijjah series. So we're going to have next week, inshallah, we'll have our Dhul Hijjah series, and we'll be going live once a day in Dhul Hijjah for the first 10 days, and we'll also have Mufti Asim, who's recording a very unique series for Dhul Hijjah. Will be coming out every single day, so there'll be 2 videos daily for the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, inshallah. So even though we are not going to be in Hijaz, in Mecca and Medina this year, unfortunately, but hopefully we'll be able to still benefit somehow, right? This year in Ramadan, we weren't able to go to the masjid, but somehow we were still benefiting, even though it was not the same as going to the masjid, but we had some programs, different ways of keeping ourselves spiritually uplifted. So hopefully these 10 days of the Hijjah, we can maintain that. So since it is our last segment of the upbringing of the pious, not sure if it's going to be the last segment of family matters, because I do have other ideas in mind that I'll share with you after, and maybe we'll go over those. But the upbringing of the pious, and we discussed, some great people. And to be honest with you, these last 5-6 weeks, Rehan sees me recording other series all the time. I actually feel a huge responsibility conveying this message when it comes to this particular series. It's the reason for that is, you're speaking about these great people. Chota muh badi baat. They say like small mouth and big talk. Like, who are you to speak about these people? And you're talking about these great individuals, and you just, talking about for example, you're talking about their poverty. You're talking about how they had nothing to write with. You're talking about how far they're away from their parents, and you just came in your, luxury sedan, came in, AC in the car, just had, you could have just you went to Tim Hortons, bought a coffee, you had everything. And now you come and you're speaking about these people who gave their entire life, for this deen. It's difficult. It's challenging. And then plus, I'm a father myself, so I want to make sure that whatever I speak about, I'm trying to speak about an angle where it doesn't seem as if this is what I want you to do. This is what I want myself to do. This is important for me to do it for my kids, right? It's not important. It's of course, and collectively, since we are the Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, we grow together. So that's why this series was not easy for me to do. The preparation was not, alhamdulillah, we've been studying these people's lives all our life, but just to convey it in a manner in which, I can benefit, you can benefit, and without sounding like we are in the same pedestal. Like, even the way you write my name on the title, it bothers me every single week, right? The upbringing of the pious, Imam Shafi'i, then / Mufti Abdul Rahman Waheed. Like, who am I? And then who is, like, come on. Like, I told these people many times, don't put my name there. It's just, we should just highlight them. These people are another level. Like, what we're going to do, what the first thing we're going to do in Jannah is just have tea with these guys. Like, just sit with them and see what they did. So that's why this last episode of this segment, I want to dedicate to something from the Qur'an. So you had the upbringing of the pious, of all these people that we took highlights from, anecdotes from, and we spoke about. But today, we're going to go right back to where it all came from, right? The foundation. Before we go there, what's interesting for me, why I'm in my heart I'm laughing a bit, is because none of you even parents, like, what are you doing here? Anyways, so it's okay. You guys, it could help you in the future. All right, so people, this series definitely is catered towards parents first, but there's a lot for everyone to take from this, right? So before we go there, I've been thinking for the last few weeks, right? What is the biggest challenge in the upbringing of children? And I wrote down a few things, like, okay, you have to be good yourself, you have to act upon what you're saying, you have to do this, you have to do that. But to me, I find that one of the biggest things, the challenge that parents have, is to endure the pain that the child is going through in the time of training. What does that mean? Look, I can't see my son getting, a vaccine from the doctor. He cries. I don't like it. Crying and put him down. It's just like, I can't do it. And there's parents who can't do it, I'm telling you. They have a very small heart about these things. I can't do it. I never did it, right? You know what? My son, I think he dislocated his elbow. Man, the drive to the hospital was so. I felt like I was losing blood. Honestly, that's how it was so difficult for me. He's crying and crying, and the doctor's grabbing him, pulling him, this, that. Like, it's so painful, right? And it's hard for parents to see that with their kids. And real pain. One of my friends who's a doctor in Arizona, I spoke about him before. Like, the thing he said about the pain of children is like the other pains you can sort of get used to, but the pain of a child, every time the child goes through that pain, it's as if someone's striking you with a knife for the first time. You can never get used to that. And it's true. So imagine that. You take that on one side, that same type of pain you will have to go through when you're training your children. Okay? My son's name Hussein, he does something wrong. Do this, he starts crying. It looks so cute. It's like he's crying. You want to just hug him and kiss him, but you can't. You got to hold yourself back. You have to make small things big deals. Because, العلم في الصغر كالنقش في الحجر. Knowledge in the time in infancy, childhood, is like engraving on the stone. You can't let small things slide. I'll give you an example. You're like, what are you guys talking about? You're not supposed to do that. Great people are not supposed to do that. All right, here comes Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah. All right, we talked about him. After he's, going back and forth, staying away from his home for over almost 30 years in this pursuit of knowledge. He comes back, I'm just saying, assuming hypothetically he probably came back after many months to see his mother. All right? How much is the mother? Mother doesn't have, this is an orphan. The only one that Imam Shafi'i's mother has is this child right here. How excited do you think she was to see him? Very excited. All right. He comes to the door. He knocks on the door. She says, Man anta? He says, Muhammad bin Idris. Muhammad, the son of Idris. And then she asks, Wabima ji'tani? What have you brought to me? Like, in what status have you come to me? What have you brought? What are you presenting to me? And he knew his mother, so he says, Ji'tuki bil ilmi wal adabi. Okay? I have come to you with the ilm and adab. You know what she said? Was there anything wrong with that answer? Like, open the door, it's me. If it was one of us. Okay, knock on the door, ring the bell. Who is it? It's me, open the door. Right? That's what imagine, knock on the door, mom says, who is it? Mother, I've come to you with Surah Yasin. She might think we're crazy. Like, okay, that's like so abnormal. That's not going to happen anymore, okay? So this is here. Don't do that with your wife. She won't open the door. So here he comes. Ji'tuki bil ilmi wal adabi. I've come to you with knowledge and with adab. What's wrong with that sentence? Nothing, right? She doesn't open the door. She says, Lasta Shafi'i. You're not Shafi'i. What? So he just leaves. He goes back to Medina to his teacher, Imam Malik. And he says to Imam Malik, this is what happened. My mother didn't open the door. Now imagine how hard that was for the mother. She never opened the door. So he tells Imam Malik, I don't know what happened. My mom didn't open the door. I don't think I said anything wrong. She didn't even see me. So Imam Malik was, of course, Imam al-Medina, Imam al-Hadith. So فَتَبَسَّمَ الإمام Malik. He smiled. And he says to his student, Imam Shafi'i, Ya Shafi'i, ارجع إلى أمك. Go back to your mother. وَطْرُقِ الْبَابَ عَلَيْهَا. Knock on the door. فَإِذَا سَأَلْتُكْ مَنْ أَنْتَ. And when she asks you who you are, then say to her, Muhammad bin Idris. And then when she asks you, what have you brought to me? Say to her, جِئْتُ بِالْأَدَبِ وَالْعِلْمِ. Okay. So when I first read this, it didn't make sense to you right now, right? When I first read this, it's like, what? He just said that. But when I looked at the wording, it made sense. He says, when she asks you, what have you brought to me? Say, جِئْتُكِ بِالْأَدَبِ وَالْعِلْمِ. Say adab first, then ilm. Say, I have come to you with adab and ilm. Don't say, I have come to you with ilm and adab. Because adab is more important than ilm. Etiquette is more important. Morals are more. A lot of people have knowledge but have no morals. and no one can benefit from them. The Prophet had morals before he even had the Qur'an. And that's the reason why the world changed. So just the wording, Habibi, just the wording. There was nothing wrong with the sentence, but the mother was trying to teach her son a lesson. And how painful was that lesson? It was not easy. I'll give you another example. Hazrat Shaykh al-Hadith, rahimahullah. When I read this, I was like, what? These people were crazy, man. In a good way. So his father says to him, Yahya Sahib, rahimahullah, says to him, son, what do you think about, he's away from his home. So what do you think about going home for Eid? Oh, I love it. So happy. Okay, I haven't been home for Eid since I was 3-4 years old. And now he's like 12, 13 years old. So he hasn't spent Eid at home for all these years. He's not been home for other purposes, but not for Eid. So he's like, I was so happy. Those 15 days, every single day was like Eid for me. Just super excited. Above the moon. All right. And I'm thinking, when's my dad going to tell me who I'm going to go with? Who am I going to go with? The night before Eid, he says, you're not going. Okay? He says, I cried the whole night. Okay, you're going to sit here like, man, the father was crazy. What was he thinking? But don't think that. Think of it in the words of the son later in his life. Don't think of it in our mind. Think of it and how much he benefited from this. You see what I'm saying? We're thinking the doctor's crazy, grabbing the kid's arm, twisting it, doing this, putting something over him. He's crying. This doctor doesn't have a heart. He's not. He's doing it to benefit him. You see what I'm saying? It's not an easy process. You have to see. There's going to be times where it may not be a big deal, but you have to put your foot down. Say no, it's not happening. Early on, not later on. Later on, then it becomes friendship. Later on, you just watch, and you just benefit from the upbringing that you gave to your children when they were young. Right? At the beginning, that's what it takes. So he cried all night. I cried all day of Eid. And then a few days after Eid, he said to me, I could have sent you. I really wanted you to go home. But after seeing how excited you were, I wanted to teach you a lesson of the Qur'an. لِكَيْ لَا تَأْسَوْا عَلَى مَا فَاتَكُمْ لَا تَفْرَحُوا بِمَا آتَاكُمْ. That you do not grieve over what you don't get, and you don't get too excited from what you get. This is all from Allah. There's never get too high, never get too low. This lesson, I wanted to teach you. I saw how happy and joy. Imagine, imagine if we can teach our children that lesson. That look, if it's something, nowadays our children, if things don't happen exactly in the way they plan, they just lose it. Right? And so to understand that, no, never do that. Always keep your head up. That was a lesson his father taught. It was not an easy lesson though. So that's a disclaimer before we move ahead. Whatever we spoke about in the last few weeks, it's not easy to do it. It's not. But it takes a strong heart, a heart of conviction, knowing that this is going to benefit my children later on, and that's why we have to do it. No, you're not eating until you say Bismillah ala barakatullah. No, stop. 3-year-old kid is drinking, standing up, stop. Sit down and drink. Now, there is room over there. He's 3 years old. Or she's 3 years. No. Making sure. These things make a big difference later on. Kicking the musalla, like the kids are playing, stopping them. No, you can't do it. This is the prayer rug. The Qur'an, kiss it. All these small things, and making sure we put them in stopping in our track, and making sure we instruct them. Making sure it's not easy. Sometimes they're going to cry. Sometimes it's not going to be easy. But that's what it takes to bring for the upbringing of children in this society. So that's a segue into what I wanted to speak about today. Even that's enough. If we take that message, it should be enough. But we look in the Qur'an and we have fatherly advice of Luqman to his son Tharan. Most people say. So today's episode is going to be titled The Upbringing of Tharan, the son of Luqman, which most people say his name was Tharan. Now, the first pieces of advice, or the most important ones that I want to speak about, is okay. After all these these videos we watched and we've been following along, how should this all begin? What should we do? What does Luqman Islam say to his son? What's the first advice he gives? The first thing he says to his son is Ya Bunayya. Ya Bunayya. Now, even in that word is such a big blessing, right? And there's so much to be taken just from that word. It's a blessing of Allah that He captured it in that one word, Ya Bunayya. It's like saying, my dear, my John, my love, my beloved. All those things are captured in. So making sure that when we call our kids hear their names, we say it with so much love. It doesn't matter what we're going through, but letting them know that we love them through the way we're calling their names. This is the way Luqman Islam calls his son. Ya bunayya, la tushrik billah. Right away he says, do not associate partners with Allah. Inna shirka la dhulmun azim. He says, do not, wa huwa ya'iduhu. He's giving advice. La tushrik billah. Inna shirka la dhulmun azim. Now, verily shirk, associating partners with Allah, is a great injustice. Now, this shirk that he's talking about, Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he speaks about this in detail. He says, the prophets ﷺ did not come to this world just to remove the physical idols, but they also came to this world to remove the idols of the heart. Because it was not enough the idol of the love of dunya, the idol of love of fame, the idol of ignorance in the heart, the idol of all these are different, of materialism. To remove all those, right? That's why the prophets came to this world. And the first advice he's giving his son is teaching him the value in the maqam of Allah, who Allah is, right? And we see that when he does that, at an early age, our conversations with our children should be mostly about Allah. Every single time our conversation should always go back to Allah. Oh, look at the sky. Beautiful, huh? Allah created it. Look at this beautiful. Abuji, these trees are nice. You see them, they're changing colors. Who did it? Allah did it. Nice, tasty fruit. Who gave this fruit? Do it to a point where it becomes so repetitive. So repetitive. The hadith about the dhikr of Allah. Uthkurullah hatta yuqalaka majnoon. Remember Allah till they call you crazy. A person who sits in a room all alone doing dhikr, no one even knows he's doing it. These are things that you will do. People are like, come on man, you're crazy. Keep doing it with your kids. Keep saying his name. Keep saying his name. Where the child now embedded in their minds is the status of Allah. Never say, I'll give it to you. If Allah wills, we'll get it. Let's ask Allah for it. Why don't you make dua for it? Your duas are accepted. Ask, do you want a toy? Make dua, Allah gives you a toy. I can't give it to you, Allah will give it to you. Today, our children think we are everything. They ask for something, we get it. We're an ATM machine. You want it? We put the card in. Rehan goes there, he doesn't get nothing out. But when you go there, you put the card in. I want a PS3. Boom, it's out. I want this. And our relationships become transactional. You do this, you get good grades, I'll give you this. You do this, and it becomes very transactional. That's not how the relationship is with Allah. The relationship with Allah is of dependency. We have no choice. We are fully dependent on Allah. And this is what we have to teach our children. I am dependent on Allah. I get sick, He takes care of me. You get sick, I can't give you cure, Allah will take care of you. Right? So early on, the first message that you see from this father he's giving to his child is the message of the status of Allah. And nothing in this world can come at that level. When a person understands that child, when they grow up, if they have friends and it's salah time, they know that the appointment with Allah has far more value than the appointment with friends, because you put that in their head at an early age. Alhamdulillah, my brother's son, he's probably 7, 8 years old. One time, I was laying down in my mother's room on the bed. He was 7 years old this time. And they went out somewhere. He comes back. His cousins are all playing outside. And remember, they're like 5, 6-year-old kids. 6, 7, like that, innocent little kids. He comes and I'm laying down. And all I see is this kid. He runs to my mother's room. He puts the sajada down and he starts praying salah. Because Asr is about to go qada. He prays. Of course, he doesn't pray the way like we should be praying. And I wanted to record it so badly because it was the cutest thing I've seen, right? I was like, mashallah, man. Like this kid, he knows what time salah is going qada. And he wants to pray before it goes qada. And he's 7 years old, right? That's unbelievable. Allah keep him like that. And Allah make all of it. So when you put that in their head at that moment, that becomes the most important thing for them, right? All of his cousins were playing outside. He didn't care about any of them. It's not like he's not a shararti kid, he's a very shararti kid, right? I mean, the kids are naughty, that's fine. But that was something he wanted to do. He didn't wait for anybody, no one had to tell him. Imagine that. He just did it. So this is something early on, make sure the words of Allah are mentioned over and over and over again in our homes, teaching our children the dependency on Allah and letting them know how dependent we are on Allah as well. How Luqman Islam starts with this. You know what happens? This is interesting. This is an interesting sequence of events and words in Surah Luqman. I'll conclude by saying this. He says, the person who's speaking is Luqman. The person who's the mukhatab is the son. But the way the Qur'an, the tone shifts. He says, Ya bunayya la tushrik billah. The next verse, Allah says, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامَيْنِ أَنِ اشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكَ إِلَيَّ الْمَصِيرُ. Right? And then verse number 14 and 15. Allah then says, and we have commanded human beings to be good to their parents. Not Luqman is saying that to his child. Who's saying that? You understand the difference? And the first ayah is Luqman is saying it to the son. There's two verses where Allah is speaking directly to the human beings. And then it goes back. Ya bunay innaha in taqu mithqala habatin fi qadlin. It goes back to the son. Why is that? Mufassirin say, if we can teach our children the status of Allah, Allah takes the responsibility of making them obedient to us. You don't have to do that now. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about when you're 60 years old what's going to happen to you. Are my children going to take care of me? Make sure you put that in their heads, the status of Allah in their hearts. You know how we say, oh, tell my kids to respect me. Allah will do it. Allah will put it in their heart. They will be so restless that they won't be able to sleep at night without massaging your feet. They won't be able to sleep at night without massaging your head. They won't be able to sleep at night without bringing a smile to your face. This will become the purpose of their life if you early on in your life teach them the status of Allah. And if they don't know the status of Allah, who Allah is, and what the priorities are, what the value of Allah is in their life, then Allah doesn't take responsibility. Now you have to do it. And we know what we're doing and how good we're doing it. Allah takes responsibility Himself. So this is the message. And then the next verse, quickly going over it, the next verse, Luqman Islam then teaches the child the qudra of Allah. How powerful Allah is. He says that if there was a mustard seed, habba, grain of mustard seed, fatakun fi sakhra, and this seed was hidden in a boulder somewhere. Where was this boulder? Somewhere in the sky or somewhere in the earth. Allah will bring it. Isn't that a very it's like a very basic discussion of the greatness of Allah. Very basic. Not like all the trees and the photosynthesis and this and that. Talking about basic. If there was a grain, small little grain, you can't even see it if it was right there. Something that can't even be seen. If this was hidden in a boulder, that's even more impossible. And if this boulder, if someone said, okay, take the grain out of that boulder, and you saw that boulder, maybe you can work, for years at breaking it into pieces, maybe you can get it. But where's that boulder? It's somewhere in the skies of the earth. Now that becomes impossible. Ya'ti biha Allah. Allah will bring it. That teaches us a lesson. He's telling the child, look, even if there's a small good deed, no one appreciated it, Allah will appreciate it. If there's a small sin that you think is a sin, and no one saw it, Allah saw it. Right? And if there's anyone who did wrong to you and nobody saw it, you felt it, Allah saw it. And this is the qudra of Allah is mentioned. So the father is putting the foundation down. The status of Allah, that nobody comes at His level. Nobody. If we can teach the children the status of Allah, the power of Allah, then Allah will instruct them and teach them how to obey us. Allah make us among those who can follow these pieces of advice and make our children obedient to us. It was a beautiful 5-6 weeks. Inshallah, we'll continue something after Dhul Hijjah. Hopefully you guys stay tuned for the Dhul Hijjah series. And inshallah our live audience doesn't grow for the next few weeks. We're okay with what we have right now. Jazakallah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.